Okay, I'll get started here. Can one of you confirm if you could hear me?
Can hear you.
Okay, good. All right. So, okay. So we did the administration yesterday and we completed it. And it could be a little complex here. So the important thing is you have to go through this document and then understand it clearly. Okay, it's not a rocket science, but you just have to practice a few times. All right, so today I'm gonna get started on permissions, and so it's a fairly complex topic here. Okay, I'm gonna see here ls. So I'm gonna create a file here, touch file one, right? So what I'm gonna do is ls-l. So what this does is it's give me some detailed information about a file here. So we're gonna focus today about this part here today, okay? And see and read through what this file is. And okay, so this part is the name of the file, and then this is the time here, May 3rd, 9:12 p.m. 9:12 a.m. Okay, and then this one says it has a zero links, and then this part is the group it belongs to, and this part is the owner of the file who created the file here. Okay, and then this part is it has a one oh, you know what, hold on, file blogs, you got one link. Okay, sorry. So this part, when you say 0 here, this is the size of the file. Okay, and then this is root owner, and this is who, I'm sorry, root here it says the group, and here is the owner. And this part is how many links a file has. And then a period is a period, right? A period is what? Is a present working directory. So this file is located in this directory here. And these are the permissions here. So let's concentrate on this part here, okay? All right, so this part, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay. So let's look at it here, how many boxes we have here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna put down R, W, and then it has a blank here, right? And then you know what? Hold on. So very first block is R, W, R, then R, W, W, R, R, W, R. Okay, so what RWR stands for? R stands for read, and then W stands for write, and X, actually this is X. X stands for execute. So this is repeating 3 times here. And then I'm trying to put this as a lowercase r. X. Okay. So here, first three part, read, write, execute. This part here belongs to this group. This belongs to a group called users. This is users. Okay. User. That means whoever is owner of the file. Okay. And then this part belongs to group. Okay, and then last three of the part belongs to others. Okay, other users. Okay, and then so we have like letters assigned, right? Read stands for R, write stands for W, execute stands for X, and also has the numbers assigned also. Okay, for R, this is a default number 4, and for write default number is 2, and then for execute the default number is 1. So let me just increase this size here. Okay, you could see this better, right? Yeah. Okay. Now it's gonna be same in here. So can somebody tell me what is the default number for read? Okay, same thing. Read is 4, write is 2, execute is 1. Same thing here. 4, 2, 1. Okay. So we're not reading what this number is yet, okay? But I'm explaining you. We have this 9 places here. I'll explain what is the leading hyphen here, okay? A little bit later. So we have 9 spaces here. From here to here, these are the permissions, permission information here. And if you count this carefully here, it's a 9 blocks. We have read, write, one is blank, that stands for X is execute. Read, write, execute, read, write, execute. So we have 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. First 3 belongs to the users, and then second 3 belongs to group permissions, and then the rest belongs to others. Okay. All right. So let's see what it means here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna write down here read equals number 4, write equals number 2, and execute equals 1. Okay. So looking at our permission here for this file. Okay, so let me copy this file here again. Okay, so here, this is our file, and we're going to calculate what is the permission for our file right now. Okay, so let's do some calculation here. So first 3 parts here is read, write, and then the third one is blank. So let's do so a little hyphen here means that permission is not there. Okay, so for first three parts here, user, can somebody tell me what do you think the permission is? Okay, all right, somebody started, I'm gonna help you. Okay, let's work this together here.
The first part means that the user has the right to read. He can read the file.
Okay,
Uh, the second W would mean that he can write,
yes.
but the user cannot execute since the right has been waived.
Okay, good, very good,
So
very good. So let's see here. So what would be the number then? If you're looking at the number terms, what would be the number?
six, 4 plus 2, 6.
Okay, very good. All right, let's move on to the next block.
So here in group it would be 7.
Okay, so in group, we have right and we have hyphen hyphen. So we have right and two blanks. So tell
4
me.
only.
Okay, so this is 4. Okay,
4.
very good. And let's do it for others.
4 here as well.
Okay, hyphen hyphen. Okay, so this is 4 also. Okay, very good. So what is this here? User. Okay, and then this is group. And then others. Okay, very good. So the file permission for this file is, when you look in the number terms, is 644. Okay. Okay, so one other thing here is users, they are represented with letter U. Okay, and groups, they are represented with letter G, and others are represented with letter O. Okay, so I'm going to put this down here too. U, G, O. It's all lowercase. Okay, so let's have some fun here. I want to change the permissions here, okay? So the command that changes the permission is chmod. Okay, chmod. What does chmod stands for? So it stands for change modification. Okay, that's what chmod stands for. This is a command we're gonna use. So what I want to do is I want to give write permissions to group and others. Okay. So how am I gonna do that? So what I'm going to do is grant write permissions to group and others. Okay, so all right, help me here. What is the number we're going to use here? Okay, the command I'm going to use is chmod. Okay, that's the command I already told you. Okay, so now I want to have this permissions here for this group. I want to keep the same permission for users, which is already read write. Okay, and then I'm gonna give read write permissions to the group and read write permissions to others. Okay, so how do I do this? Can somebody help me here? Give me the number. What would be the number here? All we're doing is just doing the addition here.
666.
Okay, true, very good. So if we type 666 and then the file name, file 1, so what will happen is this will become read write, read write, read write. Okay, so it's going to be equals 666. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter, and if I do ls-l, there you go. So the number is 666. Okay, I'm going to put this here. Okay, now what I need to do is I want to grant execute permission to group only. Okay, I want to grab execute permission to group. Okay, so I want to keep this permission here. Read, write. Okay. The very first one, don't worry about it. I'll explain you a little later. Read, write, comma. Read, write, execute. and read write. Okay, so what will be the number here?
676.
676. Very good. 676 will be the permission we desired here. Okay, so now here we still have to give the number here. We just don't add one permission here. Okay, so we have to still let the system know to keep the same permission. You have to give the number which is corresponding to it. So you have to calculate this in the head here. Okay, so chmod 676 file 1, and if I do ls-l, now the permissions has changed here. Okay, look here, between here and here the permissions have changed. So this part belongs to group here, and the group has read permission, write permission, and execute permission. Okay, so this part, this is the part that can't change, and over here this part got changed. Control B. Okay, so let's play one more time. Take away all the permissions. Okay, so I don't want to give any permissions to anybody. Okay, what would that be? This is the permission I want to give.
000.
Yeah, 000. Okay, so what I'm trying to drive home here is I'm trying to drive home the idea how this is working here. Okay, so if I do chmod 000 and then file 1, then if I do ls-l, then so nobody has any permissions, nobody can even read it here. Okay, so let's see if the root could do it. So I mean, all these permissions may or may not apply to root here most of the time here. So let's try with the regular user. We have go into new session or duplicate. I'm going to log in as Zafar, Red Hat. Okay, and so we're going to have to go into different folder because this is a root folder here. So what I'm going to do is let's have an L. Let's have an LD root. So we have a developer folder here, right? So let me put this down here first. So over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain what read, write, and execute is, okay? So read means the whoever is trying to read is able to read the file. And write equals you are able to write to the file. And execute is, yeah, go ahead.
Sir, I have a one question. So, sir, when you change the permission of the file, like neither you can read, neither you can write or execute, so you are actually changing the permissions of the users, right? Or it's for the root as well?
Yeah, it doesn't apply for root.
It doesn't. It's not, or it does.
It will not.
It will not. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so let's see. Let's put something in here. So root, that's what I'm saying. Root is a super user here. He doesn't care. Permission doesn't apply for the root user. Okay, so we're gonna have more fun here when we're gonna when I'm gonna log in as a regular user and we'll work on it. Okay, so and execute execute means usually this is for the executable file. This is for example script and executable file. Okay, so let's work on it. What I means here. So I'm gonna clear this. Okay, I'm gonna go to CD developer and I'm gonna do ls here. I do ls-l. Okay, so read, a user could read, write, and execute here. So I'm gonna remove some files here. I'm gonna remove all files and create new files. Okay, rm asterisk. So I'm gonna do touch file 1. Okay, I'm gonna do echo. This is permissions lesson. Okay, so this is a file 1 here. So I'm gonna go in here as a regular user. So a regular user, so a regular user by default the permissions are 644. Okay, whenever the file is created the default permissions is 644 here. So this is the owner. Owner in this case is root. And then the user is going to be Zafar. I'm sorry, the group is going to be Zafar. And then in this case, others is going to be others here. Sorry. Over here, the group is going to be the specific group. So others will be, for regular user, in this case, it would be Zafar here. So I have this permission here. So I only have read permissions here, right? ls-l. So if I do cat file1, I am able to read the file here. Okay, so okay. So now there is what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take away the permissions here. I'm gonna not give any permissions to others here. So there is one other way to grant permissions and take away permissions here. So let's do it with the numbers here. I want to take away the permissions here and keep the same permissions here, okay? Okay, so this is here. Okay, so I'm gonna just make a little note here on the side that we are in a different directory here, okay? Okay. So now what I want to do is I don't want to here I want to take away this permission here and then keep everything else. So I'm going to do read write hyphen comma read blank blank, and then I want to keep 3 blanks here. So what will be the permission here? Anybody? What is the permission here?
640.
Yeah, 640. Okay. Okay, good. Now here's a new way to give the permission here. So the permission here would be let me clear this. I do ls-l again. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give the permissions here. How am I gonna do that? chmod. Okay, and what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna do u minus r and file1. Okay, now I'm using the letters here. Okay, so I'm taking away the permission for other. I'm sorry, not you. I'm going to use O. I'm going to take the permissions for others. Minus means remove. And R. Later on, if you go to put an R, then it will do. If later on we're going to do plus, so we're going to add the permissions here, okay? So we're going to do chmod minus R file1. So I'm going to take out R permissions here. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, I'm a little confused. In this O-R, what does O stand for? Does O stand for the user part? Because there are 3 like user, group, and others. So O stands for what?
Okay,
And
it's right in front of you. Tell me what it is. Can you see
Okay.
O? Right here. O stands for others.
Sure. But it's in the wrong order. So which is, I think, O.
O is this octet. O,
Oh, okay.
okay,
Okay.
user is this block, and group is this block, and other is this block here. So I'm just worried about this block here.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so this block, this is the O part. 3 items here belongs to O, and out of that I'm taking out R. So if I do ls-l, so now there is no permissions here. Okay, but if we would have been using it the number here, what would be the number? We have to give the full number here, 340. So it would be the same thing here, O minus R. That means we are removing the permissions here. Okay, so this is what we did here. Okay, now what I want to do is give read, write, and execute permission here. Okay,
The permission, the permission you just remove right now. So it's removed for it's been removed for everyone.
try again. Right
Hello.
here, what did I do? I used only
Uh,
O. Okay,
oh yeah,
so
like others. So in others groups, like if you have like a 3 users, so it's gonna remove all those 3.
yes.
But if you want to keep one of them in permission and rest to just remove them, so can we do it, or it's gonna work for all 3?
So if there are 3 regular users, then it's gone. There is no permissions for it.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
and they are very good. Uh, you are thinking in the right direction, and you are actually thinking ahead. So you're thinking, okay, wait a minute here. We have 3 users here, and if they are into user category, there would be their permissions would be gone here. But later on, there is one other category called groups here. So if one of the user belong to a particular group, then if that group has he would have access to read if he belongs to one particular group here. Okay, so right now nobody's belong to root group.
Okay.
So we'll manipulate the files later on and then see how those things work. Okay, very
Okay.
good.
Like it's a long term. Oh, like it's a further thinking. I was just thinking.
Yeah,
Okay.
down the road we'll we'll work on it how those things are working.
Okay.
Okay, so give full permission to others. Okay, so what would be the number here for full permissions for this for this file? I want to give only full permissions to others here. So read, write, and read, and
647.
then read, write, execute. Very good. 617. Are you sure 617?
647.
Yes.
647.
647. 647. Very good. And what is the other way we're going to give it using the letter? Chmod O others, right? I'm worried about others here. So what is the way I'm going to give it to them?
Plus
Okay, plus what?
647. It's gonna be R.
Yeah, you're right. Say it. Or what?
RX.
Okay. And what else?
No, RWX actually.
Yes, very good. RWX. Okay, and the name of the file. Let's try RxWR. I think it will work too. Okay. Yeah, it
But
works.
but also just a quick question, like also like suppose you are working on a file 1 right now. So if you have like a file 1, file 2, file 3, like a couple of files. So and if you wanted to give them an access like a permissions, all files together to the others. So is it possible, or it's just like we have to
Yeah.
do like once like a file 1 and then file 2 and then file
This
3?
you do this.
Oh, okay.
All right. You learn what the asterisk would do. It would do to everything, everybody. Not everybody, every file there. You do this. If the file name starts with the same thing and you do this, then you do this permission here. Okay. All right. Very good.
Okay.
So I think you all got the idea here how you're gonna do it here. Okay, so we'll play one more so that we have for groups and users too. Okay. So this is gonna be O plus RWX. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give execute permission to these two groups here. Okay. Okay, so the first is going to be read, write, execute. Second is going to be read and execute only. And then I don't want to mess around with this here, so I'm going to keep it that as is. Okay, so what is the number permission? What would be
It's
the
757.
Yeah, very good. 757. And how are we going to do this using the letters?
So it would be chmod, and we want to give the permission for user and group. So it would be U plus RWX and G plus R and R dash X. RX.
And then a file 1.
File 1, yes.
Okay, it's not working. So what you could do here is when you're adding it here, you could do this here. In this scenario, you're just adding a plus. You do UG plus X. You're just adding a execute permission to this two group. Okay? So this will work. See? You added only the execute permission here and the execute permission here, and then everything else remained the same. It's like a mind trick game here. So you really play around with this and you will get it. So UG plus X, that's it. It will do it. It will do the job for you. Okay. I think we should play around a little bit more here so that you get this idea. So let's see here. Okay, now, so the permission was denied when he was doing here, right? This group here, he was not able to, when we remove the file here, at this moment here, -O, others, at this moment he was not able to read here. So let's see cat file 1, so he's able to read 1. And then he's able to write to it too. Okay, which redirector I would use to add to the file? I want to keep the existing line and then I want to add to it. Yeah, go ahead. What?
Double greater than sign,
Yeah.
2 times greater than.
Yeah, very good. 2 times greater than file 1. So he's able to write to the file here, okay? Executing a file, I'll show you when we are doing the scripting here. When we're doing the scripting, I'll show that to you. Okay, so okay. So you could also do this here if you do chmod UGO minus all file 1. Okay, I thought it might work. Maybe A. No. Okay, so you just have to do RWX. So this is permissionless. Then if I do this here, so what it's going to do is it's going to give full permissions to everything here. Read, write, execute. And if you see a file here, it's a very dangerous permission here, okay? If you're going through the files here and you see, suddenly you see a file is sitting with read, write, execute, full permissions here. That means anybody with a silly access to the file, he would have full permissions here. So investigate this here. So if you come across a file when you're working in the actual environment, and all of a sudden you see a file has full permissions, okay, that's a red alert for you, and stop and look into it, okay? Because in the real world scenario, a file or a directory will not have full permissions. That brings us to the directory permissions here. So let me just put this as a caveat. Okay, so let's move on to the directory permissions here, okay? Let's see how the directory permissions are working. I'm going to create a folder, mkdir, folder 1. I do ls-l. Okay, the directories permissions work a little different here. Okay, so this is, so far we worked only on the single file permission, okay? Permission. So this is the file permission. And then this is the directory permission. Okay. So let's grab this directory here and study this, okay? So so looking at the directory here, what do we have here? Permissions. So let's see here. I'm going to raise this a little bit. Okay. So remember here for the file, if it is just a blank here, this part here, if I could highlight this part here is blank here for file here, right? That means it's a file. And if you have a letter D in there, that means this is a, this indicates that this is a directory here, okay? Is that fair enough? So if you have a letter D in the front, that's directory here. So let's work on here who has what permissions here, okay? So I have Okay, so we have user, group, and others. So what permissions we have for user here? Anybody?
DRWXR.
Yeah. Okay, so user is read write x and read x and read x. Okay. And what would be the number that stands here? Read write execute. If you add the number, what would?
7,
Yeah.
7,
Yes, 7.
5,
Yeah, 5.
5.
Okay, fine. Okay, now if you notice the directories for everybody, it has the execute permissions here. Why is that the directories have execute permissions by default? So it has to do with
Can I ask a question?
yeah, sure.
So when you did this user that is 7 RWX, we are not including the D, because D is a directory, right? And why are we not? And there are 2 R's.
Yeah, this part, the very first
Oh, DR is directory. Okay, I get it. So DR is directory. Is that what it is?
yeah, this part. Okay, if you look at the file here,
Mm-hmm.
the very first one file has just a hyphen. That means it's a file.
Yeah,
And instead of hyphen, if you have D, that means it's a directory.
right.
Okay, that's it. That part is
That's
only
it.
that's it. So we're not worried about this part here.
Okay.
We are just looking into only this part here, from here to here. These are
Yeah,
9.
so from there to there, but the first, there are 4 letters, right? RWXR. So, and then here, when you're writing in the table, you're just putting RWX. So we're just gonna use one R to count. Is that what it is?
No, see, from here to here, this. Okay, so
Okay,
right here, let's go back
that
up.
I understand.
Yeah, so first 3, uh, we are ignoring the
First
first.
3. Okay. Oh, okay. Got it.
So after very first one, we are going in threes here. 3,
Okay. 3.
3,
Okay.
3.
I got it.
Okay, you got it.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. So the D stands for directory here. So this part here, read, write, execute. So we are worried about only this part here. Okay, so up here also I'm gonna highlight that. There you go. Okay, so I'm worried about this part only. So I'm gonna put down hyphen. Okay, very first part is very first hyphen is not part of permission. It indicates the file here. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense here. And I'm gonna put that down here also. Okay. Very first D, I'm gonna make it D here. Is not part of permission, it indicates file, a directory. Okay, so why is this directory here, or these are execute? So in Linux system, all directories have execute permission. Execute permission for directories means going inside the directory is a execute permission. So if I'm a regular user, see, let me see if as a root, if as a regular user, if I could go to root. Okay, the permissions is denied for root, huh? Root directories have execute permission, but not for others. So let's take a look at this permissions here. So slash root has a permission for all of them, right? Okay, if you look at in here, all of them has execute permission here except the root user folder here. Root user folder doesn't have these permissions here. So if I'm a regular user, I could go into almost any directories here because I have a execute permission. I accept the root user. So as a regular user, let me go into a folder named boot, cd boot. Okay, cd/boot. So I'm able to go in there, okay? So okay, so
Sir, I have a question.
yeah.
So the page which you just cleared, when you did ls_ld, there were some files which had, yes, there are some files which has L in the front. So this is a new thing.
Yeah.
So the D is for directory, but L, what is L?
Yeah, so this one I'm gonna save it for later. And this one here also I'm gonna save it for later, okay? So there is special permissions here. I will talk about it a little later, okay? Okay, so let me complete this. I will come back to that a little later, okay? All right. So every directory, every directory in the system except the root/root directory has execute permissions. So what does it actually means execute permissions? That means a user is able to go inside the directory. Okay, so directory permissions are designed as such the users are able to go inside and look for the content of the directory here. So, for example, a regular user could go in there and I could do ls-l. Okay, I could see the contents of the directory. If I have the file level permissions or not, that's a different story. But at least a regular user is able to go inside even the sensitive directories also. But then you could change depending on if those directory need a regular user permissions or not. Okay. Okay, good. So, and how do you change the permissions here? You change the permissions same exact way. Okay. I probably don't need to go through all that here. So I'm going to make a note here. Okay, so let's go ahead and try to remove permissions here. For folder, I'm going to do chmod. Okay, it's a chmod command, you're going to use it here. So I'm going to remove all the permissions for the regular user. So O, I'm going to do minus rwx and I'm going to do folder 1. So if I do ls-l, so the permissions for the folder is gone. So what would be the number to remove the permissions here? So if you're looking in the number terms, rwx, r-w, this is what, and then this is what we want to keep the permissions here. So what would be the number value here? 7 and then 5 0, right?
750.
Okay, very good. And then if you're going to use it with this O-RWX. Okay, so I think you got the idea how this is working. All right, so let's move on. So there is a concept called umask. Okay, and what is umask here? Okay, so let's see here. Umask means to take away the permissions. Okay, so I'm gonna clear this. If I type umask, UMASK, I get the umask option here 0022. Okay, so what is this 0022? Okay, so we're gonna learn this. Okay, before that, before that, let me explain you. By default, the system provides uh, provides 666 permissions for file without umask. Okay, and again by default the system provides 777 permissions for the folder without umask. Okay, let's see what is umask is. Okay, so we have umask here. The default umask is 0022. Okay, so let's study what 0022 means. Umask is 0022, right? So I'm gonna do this here for 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'm gonna put down here 0, 0, 2, 2. Okay, so let's start from backwards here. The very first position is going to be, what is the very first position on the right for permissions?
Others.
Others. Very good. Others. Okay, and then after that, before that,
Group.
group. Very good. And this one is user.
User.
And this part is unused here. It's just symbolic. Okay, so umask 0022 is actually umask 022. Okay, so what is umask doing here? So when it's giving the permission here, the system is giving the permission 666 in the case of file. But what is umask doing? When the system default umask is 022. So it's taking away the permissions here. So umask takes away the permissions. Okay, I mentioned here system default permission for the file is, what did I mention earlier here? Default system provided permission is for the file is what? default you could read, right? What is that? 666, right? And then we have a umask here. We have a umask. So let me do this here. Let me copy this here again. I'm going to copy this part here. Okay, so 6, 6, 6. And what is the actual? So when you take out 2 from when you take out 0 from 6, what is left? 6, right? Okay, so we'll see here default. So the system is providing the permission for the file 666, but the default is taking away some permissions simultaneously, and the set default is 022. So let's do a math here. 6 minus 0 is how much? 6 minus 0?
6.
4 and 4, I think.
Okay, good. 4 and 4. So the default would be 644, and the system default is 666, and then the default we're doing is 022. Okay, so 666 here, right? So let's go back up here. When we start the permissions here, what did we get? What did we get here? What did we calculate here? The permissions here. We calculate the permissions here. 6, 4, 4. Okay. So if you do ls-l, let me go ahead and remove this here. rm-rf asterisk clear. ls-l, there is nothing here. So I'm going to do touch file 1 ls-l. So now we looked at this default. We didn't change around anything here. The file permission we calculated here is 644 for this file here. Right? Do you agree? The UMass position is 644. Okay, this is what we have calculated earlier, and when I explained to you here, this is what the default permission comes to, 644. If you look at here, default permission is 644. So if you create 1,000 files here, 1,000 regular files here, the permissions is going to be same as 644. Why? Because there is a concept of UMask which is taking care of the system is giving 6, and then when the UMask is set to 022, it's taking away 22 here. Okay, so let's work on folder. So UMask takes away the permissions here. Okay, so we're gonna file permission. Okay, now we're going to work on folder permission. So I said folder permission. I said the folder permissions work off of here folder permissions have 777 permissions, and files work off of 666 permissions here. Okay, so what is the default permissions we got here? Is 755. Over here, I'm gonna make it clear here. So we got 6, 4, 4. Users group. Okay, you have user group others on top here, so you know what it is. 644. This is the default permission we got. And then for the folder, we got the default permission 555. So let's calculate why is it coming as 555. Okay, so the folder system provided permission is 777. Okay, all right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this here again, the whole thing, and I'll paste it here. Okay, so let me get rid of this part here. Okay, so the UMask for files and folders is same. Okay, so the user is 7, 7, 7. Okay, folder permissions are 777. Okay, 7 is the maximum permission you could any file or folder would have. Okay, so let's do the math here. 7 minus 0 is what? 7. And
It's gonna be 755.
5. Very good. 755. Okay, so what did we get earlier here when we worked only on the folder here? 755. Okay, so the default UMask is set to 022. So we could play around with UMask here. Okay, so UMask, I'm gonna say 000, and if I do UMask, it's going to take 400, but because the first one is symbolic here, it's benign, it's not going to do anything, so we'll worry about 300. So when we have a UMask this, what will be the permissions for files and folder if I create one?
No permissions.
Anybody else?
Question, please.
Actually, all permissions. Sorry. So.
Very good. It will be free for all permissions. If the UMask is set to 000, everybody would have every kind of permissions here. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a file here. ls-l. Okay, so I'm going to create touch touch file 2 ls-l, and you still have the read-write permissions here, but the execute permission is not there. Why is execute permissions not there? So if you have the UMask set to 000, the system won't allow that. The system is actually a um, foolproof method it's doing here is, even though the UMask is set to 000, the system knows that this is very dangerous thing to happen here, because everything has a read, write, and execute permissions here. So the system won't allow this. So this is one of the safety features we have in Linux, that even though the permissions are there and UMask is set to all that, still won't allow to read, write, execute here. But you should have it for folder here. Folder 1. Okay, so it did give the full permission for folder here. Okay, because it's writing. The folder already has the execute permission here. The most dangerous permission a file or a file would have is the execute permission. Okay, because using the permission, execute permission, you could launch the automatic script that could destroy a system. Okay, so I'm going to put it down here. Will not grant full execute permission. Will not grant execute permission because it's based off because it's based out of 666 permissions, and for folder it has default DEFA default 77 permission, default execute permission, so it will allow 777 permissions here. Okay, is that clear enough? So when you set this user 000 is giving you the permissions based out of 666 for files, which it did give 666, and then for folders here 777. So for the files there would be never be execute default execute permissions here, because it's at 7 here. File also work off of 7 here, but default the maximum permission you could ever give, default permission would be 666. Okay, but if the UMask is set to 022, which is default, it would be 644. Okay, so let's play around a little bit. So you do UMask and it's set to 000 here. So it will be set to 000 here until the system reboots. And it will be, when the system reboots, it will go back to the default UMask as 022. The system will go back to default UMask when it reboots. So I want to set a permission uh, yeah, it's not gonna. So I want to set a permission. I want to set umask 002. Okay. So if I create a file here, what would be the permission here? The permission would be 66664. If I create a file here, touch file 3, and if I do ls-l with this current umask, we did file 3, right? It will be 663. So if I create 1,000 files here at this moment, it will come to default permission right now would be 664. Okay, any questions? Okay, so I have yeah. Zero A is okay. So then I'm gonna hold off starting anything new now, and I'll take some questions here before I finish for today. Any questions now? Any questions about UMask?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, but you understood what a UMask is, right? UMask is for permission for folders. It's out of 6, and for the I'm sorry, for folders it's out of 7, and for files it's out of 6. And file would never have a 7 permission by default here. You have to manually give it to the file. I think I covered a lot here. It's a lot, guys. If you want to keep up here, just practice it, okay? And use the group chat to get any, if you are stuck somewhere, if you need questions, use a group chat. Users is UG, others is all. Okay, so I'm gonna stop here and then I'll catch up next week, and then we'll further continue on. Okay. All right. You have a
Yep.
you have a good week.
Have a good
Thanks.
week, sir.
Thanks.
Thanks.